Hour. Pearson, Preston, Chris, Wes along shortly.
Chris Clark.
Was your pick more about what Carolina did against Tennessee, or was it more about the way that Clemson had struggled this year?
For me, it was a little more 50-50 as to who would win the game.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a gut feel. It was a little bit of looking at some matchups going into the game.
And Wes Mitchell.
As we get Wes in here, what was your final score prediction, 29-28?
I know. I normally go with like the football numbers, and I was just like, I feel like this game is going to be weird.
Yeah.
So I kind of tried to pick the weirdest number I could come up with.
On the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
And what's up? Welcome back in. It is 107.5 The Game, the GC Takeover Hour. Wes Mitchell here, Chris Clark. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Glad to be back on the air, getting you ready for this Gator Bowl, South Carolina versus Notre Dame. Maybe going to talk a little bit of recruiting as well. South Carolina with a big, I would say, final signing of the early signing period on Friday that happened since the time that we were last in here. But no Pearson, no Preston. You got Chris, you got me. And we are live here on 107.5 The Game. Chris, Christmas break, man. Did you have a good one?
It was awesome. You failed to. We got the brains behind the operation too. Terry Ford behind the glass today.
Yeah, well, he. I think he's just going to kind of pretend he's not here in case we go off the air. He can't be blamed for it, I believe, is his plan back there. But yeah, he. So Chris, yeah, Christmas bowl game. Commitments and signees for South Carolina, and it's game week, man. Believe it or not, I mean, the game has, like, I guess, snuck up on us. It feels like Friday, 3:30, South Carolina, Notre Dame. I feel like I've got a good feel at this point for who is going to be on the field for South Carolina. They put out a depth chart. We've gotten some updates on injuries from Shane Beamer. I don't feel like I've had a chance to dive in, and I'm, I guess, late on this as far as who for Notre Dame is actually going to be on the field. And, you know, I think some people have gotten, especially on the South Carolina side on our message boards there on Gamecock Central, they've been a little bit, I don't know if upset is the word, but they maybe don't like the fact that, all right, no Marshawn Lloyd, no Jaheim Bell, no Cam Smith, no Darius Rush. At the same time, I actually, for the same reason that people maybe are starting to dislike the non-college football playoff bowls, I kind of enjoy it because I think of it as a preview for next year. I think of it as an opportunity for guys who have probably been busting their tails all year long but haven't had the opportunity to play yet. And I look at it, it's more than a spring game, but it's kind of, to me, a springboard into your next season.
That was a good one.
Came up with that on the fly.
On the fly?
On the fly,
cooking
Chris.
that one up for a while?
Yeah, it was kind of luck, honestly. But I'm excited to see some of these young guys that haven't really played a ton actually get to go out there and play. And I actually, in a weird way, Chris, I think there's value in just having the guys who do still want to be there at the bowl go actually play in the bowl. If your attention is on the NFL, I'd rather you go ahead and make the decision to just go start getting ready for the NFL rather than play not to get hurt in the game.
That is a great point. I was wondering where you're going with that. Because obviously we've seen guys nowadays even opting out of playoff games. I mean, you got, that's a little extreme. But when you got, like, I'm talking about the Ohio State player Jackson Smith and Jiba, he's had an injury history, obviously, right? But it is a great point. We have seen bowl games in the past where you're like, gosh, like, is that guy trying, or are those guys trying on that team? Someone just told me this morning over the phone, was having a conversation. It's like talking about the Gator Bowl, South Carolina, Notre Dame, each team's chances, the Gamecocks' chances. Yeah, South Carolina's got a lot of players out. Notre Dame has some guys out. And the person I was talking to was like, well, it really just kind of comes down to who wants to play, like who's interested in playing. And so for some of these young guys, I mean, a Tyshawn Wanamaker, he's played football here at South Carolina, a good bit of it. He started games in the past. Dylan Wanham has moved on. And so now Tyshawn Wanamaker, you don't think he's fired up about the chance to get back into the starting lineup? Brian Thomas Jr., you know, he has played a good bit, a lot more than anticipated in year one. Now, because of Gilbert Edmond being out, Jordan Strong still being injured from earlier in the year, now, boom, he's a starter. Some of these backup guys in the secondary who've kind of gotten a taste of things, they are now, in a second team spot, or maybe they have an elevated role on special teams. And so I'm with you. It is pretty cool getting to see some guys have enhanced roles, and probably guys that are, just like you said, looking to springboard into next season, looking to basically impress the coaching staff going into a very important offseason.
Yeah, now I've seen enough from Carolina's staff for me to believe that the guys that are there are A, going to fully want to be there, and
Yep.
B, are going to lay it all on the line. And
Yep.
I really expect South Carolina to play pretty well. I mean, you're going to have your normal bowl game. Bowl games sometimes are like game ones because you have such a big layover until you play again. You're going to have some mistakes. You're going to have some issues, but I think bowl games can actually be fun for the players as well. You can install some new things. I can all but guarantee we're probably going to see at least one creative special teams trick play just because Carolina likes to put those in on regular weeks. I'm sure they'll put them in for a bowl game with extra weeks to prepare as well. You look through the depth chart. Yeah, there are some missing guys. We all knew that was going to be the case. However, I think South Carolina's fine. Really, the glaring one that's almost funny is you look at tight end and Nate Adkins, who has very just quietly emerged as a really great player for South Carolina, and also has emerged, I would say, as a fan favorite, man. Like the way he finished out his 1 year at South Carolina, I think a lot of Gamecock fans would love for him to magically find another season of eligibility there and be able to come back. But he's played so many roles, and I think that's where you look for some creativity from South Carolina. Wyatt Campbell, in my estimation, Beamer might have been playing a little gamesmanship yesterday. I know we're going to hear from Beamer as far as what he had to say at the bowl site yesterday. South Carolina with their first practice in Jacksonville yesterday. He spoke to the media, basically said, hey, there's no two tight end sets right now. Well, I bet big Wyatt Campbell has something to say about that. I think when Carolina wants to run the football, we've seen Wyatt play some tight end. He's actually played it pretty well this year as more of like that sixth offensive lineman. I think that's your answer. Otherwise, you're probably going to do a lot of three receiver sets, I think.
Yeah, some sandbagging by Beamer, maybe. I mean, his analysis of the tight end depth chart is that A, there's not one, and B, he went with the Dave Adams reference, our walk-on guy, Dave Adams. That was awesome. He got a shout out. So he's definitely downplaying that. And look, there is very much a reality to what Shane Beamer is saying. This is a very different look than being able to trot out, okay, here's our package that has Nate Adkins and Austin Stogner in line and Jaheim Bell split out. You do not have that anymore. You don't have Trey Kenyon. You don't have any of those guys on special teams where a few of them were valuable contributors as well. So there is going to have to be some creativity. And Wes, you even look at the wide receiver position, right? I mean, Josh Vann, not with the team down at the bowl site. He was very much doubtful, questionable going into the game after the knee injury at Clemson. But Beamer confirming that. Jalen Brooks. Also, I think Beamer said he classified it, correct me if I'm wrong, very doubtful, very questionable,
very doubtful. Yeah.
So, that leaves you still got guys that have performed, but that leaves you down a couple guys who have made some key plays for you this season. So, obviously, Juice Wells on the field for you. You have Vicari Joyner. You have Xavier Legette. You have a Marion Brown. But the kind of configuration as far as what they do with the personnel is going to be quite interesting. And I'm also interested, I know you're probably going to get this later, but the running back position, do we see anything different there in terms of maybe some carries for Rashad Amos, for example?
Yeah, Juju and CBS, the only two guys listed as running backs. I thought that was interesting.
Yep.
People, fans asking some questions there. We'll see. I mean, I think Amos has a chance to play quite a bit, but I think this staff is very much along the lines of, hey, earn your spot. And, I think we'll find out on Friday if they feel like some of these guys have earned their spots. The secondary, getting kind of to some of these defensive guys, we knew there were going to be changes in the secondary. No Darius Rush, no Cam Smith, no Devontae Reed. The Devontae Reed one, I think, caught everybody a little bit off guard, but the other ones, I think we all knew they would have to make some adjustments there. And for the most part, you look at the depth chart, it kind of matches up, Chris, with what we have seen throughout the year. And what I mean by that is, yeah, O.D. Fortune kind of had established himself as being that next guy in line as far as the rotation at cornerback this season. He's going to get, it all signs appear he will get his first start on Saturday opposite of Marcellus Dow at cornerback. And Dow, I think, had a great finish to the season. Really good game against Tennessee. Really good game against Clemson. So those two guys will be your two cornerbacks. The way they have it structured right now is DQ Smith is listed as a co-starter at safety, obviously opposite Nicky Memori, and as a co-starter at nickel. Here's where things get a little interesting. Keenan Nelson Jr., the true freshman, I think will make his, for the most part, his defensive debut. He played a little bit late in that Georgia game. And so basically the way you read into that, DQ will be a starter somewhere. If he's the starter at nickel, then BJ Gibson will start at safety opposite of Emawari. If DQ is the starter at safety, then Keenan Nelson Jr. will make his first career start for South Carolina. And I, for one, am kind of intrigued. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is why I enjoy the bowl games. I would like to see Keenan Nelson Jr. get to go out there and take a bunch of reps, learn on the job. There's no substitute in sports for actually going out there and doing it in front of people, ESPN cameras, and the pressure of actually performing. So you have some guys listed on this depth chart. Let's keep it with the secondary. Keenan Nelson Jr., potential starter at nickel, and then a couple of freshman backups at cornerback that I'm intrigued to see as well. And we're going to talk about that and much more on the other side of the break. He is Chris Clark. I'm Wes Mitchell. This is the GC Takeover on 107.5 The Game, and we'll be right back.
This is Damon Amendolara with your CBS Sports Minute. The Broncos did the right thing, like giving a gift card instead of a sweater. Ownership dumped Nathaniel Hackett after the nightmare on Christmas. But what now? Will Sean Payton take a job where he has to be wedded to Russell Wilson? Will you take a swing on a fourth straight first-time head coach? And who is the name that excites you? It seems to me the only easy part was the firing. This is Damon Amendolara.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war in the term life industry. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man aged 45, non-smoker, can get $1 million of coverage for $75 per month. Level rate for 10 years. For a man aged 50, non-smoker, can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of $110. Level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Termbusters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for a new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote. 800-786-9161. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 1-800-786-9161. Remember, 1-800-786-9161. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-smoker rate class. Exam required to qualify.
A sinking foundation can cause you to make quick decisions that could be wrong. Travis Bedson, owner of C&T Foundations.
Many of our clients come to us after a bad experience with another company. From high-pressure sales techniques to misinformation, we've heard it all. If you're facing foundation problems, take a breath and take time to get a second opinion. We offer free estimates and reliable advice.
Call 803-805-8044. C&T Foundations, your foundation experts.
Whatever your current t-shirt budget is, double it and trust Palmetto Shirt Company to deliver your shirts. T-shirts build identity. Identity builds better teams, and better teams build better businesses. You can put Palmetto Shirt Company's 20-plus years of printing experience to work for you and your team. We help you build a team identity with our designs, our shirt selections, and keep it within your budget. We'll make it easy for you. Just find us online at palmettoshirtco.com and build your team's identity today. Palmetto Shirt Company, South Carolina's brand.
Treat your family to a Bullfrog hot tub from Griffin Pools and Spas. The perfect place to relax, unwind, leave the day behind. Only Bullfrog offers the Jetpack Therapy System. Each seat is customized to fit every body in your family, including the just-arrived Bullfrog Swim Spa. There's never been a better time to spa and save. Come into Griffin Pools today and reserve your new Bullfrog Spa. Bullfrog Spas. Peaceful body, peaceful mind, peaceful home. Discover more at griffinpoolsandspas.com.
Griffin Pools and Spas. We make you feel good. With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money. Easy to learn, easy to use, small business software tailored just for you. With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Offer not valid in all states or prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Wait. Tell me, where'd you get that money?
Oh, this? Oh, man. All this money came from 43money.com right online.
Are you saying you went to 43money.com and got all that money you needed fast?
Man, you know it. I went to 43money.com yesterday and bam, $5,000 was in my account today. Straight up.
Now, hold on. 43money.com helped you get $5K like that?
Yeah, man, that's right. 43money.com's lenders provide personal loans for up to $5,000 for people like you and me, even if you don't have good credit.
Man, I'm always short on cash. Can 43money.com help me get the money I need fast?
If you need extra money fast, go to 43money.com. Just have a checking account and a regular source of income. Go to 43money.com and you can get the loan you need now. Regardless of your credit, go to 43money.com to get the money you need fast. Type www.43money.com directly into the address bar. That's 43money.com. Again, 43money.com. 43money.com.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell on the home of the Gamecocks, 1075 The Game.
We play a lot of defensive backs during games anyway, whether it be nickel packages, dime packages, or packages with even 7 DBs on the field. So we've always tried to rotate a lot of guys. I mean, Kawan Banks was in there against Clemson on a key third down. And so he's a guy that has gotten better. And you know, Emory Floyd, Keenan Nelson. We do a lot of, just because you're red shirting doesn't mean we like put you to the side and we see you in spring practice. Like, we spend a lot of time during the season trying to develop guys and getting a lot of good on good work against our offense and defense. And those guys have utilized it and have gotten better. And Torian's done a great job coaching all those guys up. And you know, last year, I guess we played this game without Cam and whoever else was out there. I know we were down some DBs, but I mean, Isaiah Norris was a guy that played in the bowl game last year as well. So, you know, they've gotten experience, and we'll need them this week.
That was Gamecock football head coach Shane Beamer down at the bowl site in Jacksonville, talking about some of Carolina's freshman faces, Wes, that are going to be in the mix on the defensive back depth chart in the Gator Bowl against Notre Dame. 11-19 now here on 107.5 The Game. This is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. I'm Chris Clark. He is Wes Mitchell. And Wes, tell us about today's Firehouse Sub of the day.
Yeah, well, if one of those freshmen is going to play for the first time, man, they're going to need a little extra energy, a little extra pep in their step. And so today, you know what they could do? They could go to firehousesubs.com and get the Firehouse Sub of the day, which is the turkey bacon ranch. I know that is a favorite of Chris Clark here. We didn't have a show yesterday, so you missed out on hearing about the Meatball Monday. And by Friday, which is when the game is, we'll be on the Jamaican Jerk turkey sub. Sure. So you got some options there. Saturday is the club on a sub. That's actually one of my favorites. But firehousesubs.com, they're a presenting sponsor of this show. And you can go on there right now at the Rapid Rescue and order for lunch any sub that you want. You can go with the discounted, the sub of the day. But really, you can't go wrong with any of your picks there, Chris.
Yeah, the prime rib steak sub, also fantastic, or any of the selections at Firehouse Subs. You can actually order, Wes, directly here from the station. Terry will not deliver your sub, but you can kind of order it if you hit the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100. You can weigh in on anything that we've been talking about with Gamecock football or recruiting, or just, if you just want to send us in your favorite pick for your favorite Firehouse sub, you will actually get a link back where you can order directly your Firehouse sub. Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100, or you can call the station at 803-404-6100. So, Wes, before we went to break, we were talking about the defensive back depth chart for South Carolina, and we heard from Shane Beamer there coming in from the break. Interesting depth chart, right? Because there's several freshmen on it. A few of these guys have gotten a little bit of run this season. Kawan Banks, he was, as Beamer pointed out, in there during the Clemson game. We saw Peyton Williams come in for 52 snaps in the Tennessee game. We saw him come in and did a really good job against a high-flying offense. And then the two other ones that made the depth chart, Keenan Nelson Jr. at nickel and Emory Floyd at corner. And you were breaking down, of course, the fact that DQ Smith's listed at nickel and safety. So we may see the most that we've seen from a few of these guys like Nelson Jr.
Yeah, I'm ready to see those guys play, because I think if you're a Gamecock fan and you're one of those people that likes to look ahead to next year, before I got into the media side of things, that was something I enjoyed doing, is kind of looking ahead. All right, what's it going to look like next year? What are the areas of need? What are the areas of concern? And you were already saying, all right, the guys we're talking about right now are going to have to play a ton next year potentially. Or, if South Carolina doesn't feel like they're going to be ready, you have to start thinking this day and age transfer portal, especially at, maybe cornerback. But I think this is going to be a great trial by fire, I think, for some guys going into next year. You get to go ahead. If you're South Carolina, if you're the coaching staff, you get to learn some new information about these guys. How do they respond to this opportunity? If you are Keenan Nelson Jr., if you're Emory Floyd, you get an opportunity to go out there and learn a little bit and sort of just get that experience of what it's like to go out there in front of however many thousands of fans are going to be at this game. Should be a big crowd, should be a big opportunity. And, I think it's interesting. We saw, I think Emory Floyd slotted at cornerback earlier in the year. That is where he is at right now, listed as a backup. Kawan Banks has sort of done a little bit of everything, which actually fits, I think, what we knew about him coming in out of high school. The word on him was, hey, this is a versatile guy. Could play some nickel back, could play some corner, could play some safety. He's done a little bit of everything for South Carolina so far. I would think, I look at this as maybe you probably rotate some of those guys in for this game, regardless of if there's like an injury or a need or whatever. I'm looking at this, if I'm the coaching staff, as a chance to get them on the field and reward them for their work. And, Emory Floyd is a 4-star player out of high school. Hasn't really played a ton this year. Keenan Nelson Jr., 4-star guy out of high school. Hasn't really played a ton this year. But I think if you're a fan and you're looking for another reason to be excited about this game, it's starting to get a feel for what you can expect from some of these guys going into their second year next year.
9 guys. There's 10 spots, but DQ Smith listed twice, as you pointed out, at nickel and at safety. Really good player, but he will not start both of those spots simultaneously. He will have to pick one or the other. I wonder if he rotates in. You mentioned the rotations. Does he play nickel and safety in the same game situationally? Or maybe they say, hey, let's get Keenan Nelson Jr. in there at nickel, DQ. Now you're sliding over to safety. But Wes, 9 guys overall listed on this depth chart. 6 of them are freshmen, and not just redshirt freshmen. They are true freshmen. Got Keenan Nelson Jr., Kawan Banks, Nikki Minwari, Peyton Williams, DQ Smith, and Emory Floyd. And so, to your point, this is kind of a glimpse at what South Carolina's secondary could be next season. There's some youngsters from the 2023 recruiting class, which we'll dive into on the back half of the show. I think we're going to talk a little bit more signing day. We can get into some of those guys. But, and the transfer portal's still out there. I know you and I expect that there's going to be another kind of, the window's still open, but
another wave
of activity after the bowl game. Maybe some departures from USC, certainly departures across the country where South Carolina's recruiting staff and coaching staff may look in there and say, well, here's a corner who can come in and help us a lot next year, maybe be a starter for us next year. We may see some of that, but largely, I mean, Cam Smith and Darius Rush are out of the bowl game and they are out of the program now, moving on to the next level. So this is kind of what you've got for the future. So it's going to be a really good look against, a team that's not completely full strength, but still a quality opponent in the bowl game.
Yeah, and Keenan Nelson Jr., I completely missed this, even doing my freshman breakdown I do every couple of weeks. He actually got into the Clemson game, had to have been on special teams, but he was on the field against Clemson. And I have heard he has gotten some reps with the first group, which, again, if he gets to start at nickel, then you have DQ and Eamon Worry as your starters at safety. BJ Gibson's still an option. If BJ Gibson is your starter at one safety spot, then again, you would have DQ playing nickel. And DQ has shown he can play either spot, I think, at a high level. And I don't really count DQ or Eamon Worry as being freshmen anymore. Like, I think they've played their way through that. But some of these guys that could potentially be playing, specifically Keenan Nelson Jr. and Emory Floyd, I think they are still very much still freshmen in that they haven't really rotated in. Like, Beamer talked about, we play a lot of guys. When you're talking about O.D. Fortune moving into a starting role, I don't really think O.D. is going to blink as far as that goes, because he has played quite a bit this year, played a little bit more later in the year as well. Darius Rush has been playing banged up for much of the season. We saw Darius and O.D. sort of almost split time this final game against Clemson. So I think they're going to be fine as far as the starters go. The interesting thing will be, what do some of these young guys do, these freshmen do, as they are actually put out there for some of the first times this year. And I do think it helps a little bit that this is a Notre Dame team that, Chris, is also going to go through their own growing pains as far as not having the same guys they've had all year long either. They've had their fair share of injuries and opt-outs and, guys leaving for the draft early as well.
803-404-6100 here on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, Firehouse Subs text line. We'll get into more on the other side of the break of some other guys that we may get to see a little bit more of in the Gator Bowl against Notre Dame on Friday.
More of the Extra Point coming up next on 107.5 The Game.
At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. That's why MVP's Pro Rewards members can earn bonus points on select products and brands like Power Pro, Weehaw, and Valspar. Then redeem your bonus points for exciting rewards like tools, sports memorabilia, Lowe's e-gift cards, and more. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards today to start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Subject to program terms. While supplies last. Points expire at end of calendar year. Visit Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty terms for details. Now through 1/8/23.
Hi, folks. Johnny Stivers here for the all-new Stivers Hyundai. Our 50,000-square-foot facility is complete with a massive two-story showroom, climate-controlled service drive, a quick service facility for your regular maintenance needs, and a huge, comfortable waiting room to rest or get work done while you wait. Now, through the end of the month, I've got 0% on most vehicles, and we have a huge inventory right now with more on the way. You'll never pay over sticker for one of my cars. So, Columbia, when you think Hyundai, think Stivers Hyundai on the corner of Faro and Killian Road, where price sells cars.
Keith here with the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder from First Palmetto Bank. And if the new year has you building or buying a new home, you need a guru in this market. First Palmetto Bank is owned and operated here in the Midlands, and Jacob has local decision makers, which means quick and precise processing and underwriting. If you're looking to make a move, give Jacob a call, 803-719-1005, or email him at jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com.
Thanks, Heath. Interest rates have stabilized. The local housing market also has stabilized. Now is a good time to buy a house. At First Palmetto, we have products that help homebuyers keep payments down. Also, if you are considering building your future home, please ask me about our no-nonsense construction loans. The new year brings change, and if I can help you, please give me a call, 803-719-1005.
So to follow up, rates in the housing market are stable, which makes now a good time to buy.
I'd say that sums it up.
Great. Call Jacob Crowder today, 803-719-1005.
My NMLS number is 198432. First Palmetto Bank is a member of FDIC and any qualifying lender.
Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. Are you a top HVAC technician? Are you ready to stop working and start a career? You can earn up to $100,000 a year with AAA Heating and Air. Quality candidates will have at least 2 years experience and a good driving record. You can give them a phone call, 803-677-1500, or applicants can apply in person at the Lexington office. That's with AAA Heating and Air.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
You do not want to miss this. Before 2022 is over, you can get 22% off your carpet, air duct, upholstery, and tile cleaning from Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Start 2023 off right by already having your home insanely clean with Zerorez. To save, you must complete your cleaning by New Year's Eve. So schedule now before all the spots are gone. Use promo code N22 at ZerorezColumbia.com to save 22% off your booking. That's promo code N22 at ZerorezColumbia.com.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell on the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
Yeah, I don't want to say he's 100%, but he's full go. He did everything today, David. In Columbia, he was a little bit limited where we were just kind of building him up each day, but he was 100% full go today. There's nothing we held him out of. And, he may tell you his body feels 100%. I don't know. But as far as being cleared to do everything, yes, he did everything today.
That, of course, South Carolina head football coach Shane Beamer on site in Jacksonville as South Carolina gets ready for the Gator Bowl, talking about Christian Beal Smith, better known as CBS, and his status for South Carolina versus Notre Dame, which is not on CBS. It's on ESPN. We'll see if CBS can get a little more of an opportunity to actually go play, man. I really feel bad for this kid, for this. I don't know if he should be called a kid anymore. He's like a 6-year senior, but I feel bad for him, man, because he came in and had every, I'm sure, design to be on the field a ton this year, and the injury has just continued to keep him from being who he wants to be. So I want to talk about that here shortly, but first, going to tell you all about my friend Kendall Walsh. You've heard me tell you about Kendall with the Moore Company all season long, and you can give her a call. She can help you buy or sell a house just like she did for me and my wife. 803-414-3590. workwithwalsh@gmail.com. At workwithwalsh is how you can find her on Twitter or Instagram. You may know Kendall, actually, if you're in this area. Formerly Kendall Belk. She was with the Gamecock Club. She's a huge Gamecock fan. Again, she helped me. She can help you as well. 803-414-3590. Chris, CBS, leading rusher for Wake Forest, 2 straight seasons, sharing the backfield with some really talented guys.
Yeah. Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker, absolute stud for Michigan State. He comes to South Carolina. He wants to prove he can do it at the SEC level. He wants something a little bit different. Probably, I would guess, to play in a little bit more of a traditional offense as well. And comes in through no fault of his own, just never was able to get on track because of this foot deal. If you're a running back, foot, ankle, knee, these are things you don't want to have to deal with. This thing has lingered for much of the season, unfortunately for him. It would actually be a really cool bowl end of season story if a truly healthy CBS is able to bounce back and have a big game for South Carolina on Friday.
Yeah, or even a CBS that's like, I mean, it doesn't seem like we'll get a 100% version, right? But like I think about the Vanderbilt game. Like CBS is very limited in terms of the carries he got. Jaheim Bell got the bulk of the carries in that game, but he did have the long run in that game, and that was after he had like barely could walk off the field. You're like, all right, well, he's done for the game. You know, he comes back, runs for a touchdown. So I think like even regardless, like take out his health status, if he can play and be somewhat effective, like having that kind of off the bench, off the gurney, like type of game where he can come out and have a good one. It would be great because like, unfortunately he's a grad transfer. He's going to be out of eligibility from my understanding. And like, you just hate it for him, right? Because he did go from that offense at Wake Forest where it's kind of odd offense. You got that long mesh points, just a totally different type of offense than what he played in. And I think there's so many things he could offer this program, the production, the running style after losing Kevin Harris, a guy that could be in CBS, a guy that could be more of a short yardage threat. And we had always heard he was more advanced as a pass blocker, which is something that they needed to improve on too. So you hate it for him. But even playing throughout the season with a foot that has obviously hampered him, you know, he's still given South Carolina some good snaps. So I certainly hope, to your point, that he can come in, have a good game. We're going to see more, of course, from Juju McDowell. No Jaheim Bell to carry the ball, no Marshawn Lloyd to carry the ball. So it looks like it's going to be these two guys listed as oars on the depth chart. And then behind them, you know, I know we teased it earlier, like, do we see some more Rashad Amos, something that a lot of the fans I know have wanted to see this season too?
Yeah, and you know, we kind of, Chris, got used to not seeing Marshawn Lloyd because he dealt with the injury there for really about a month and wasn't 100% against Clemson either, as far as how it looked, in my opinion. But here's the thing. We saw them sort of say, all right, we know there's no Marshawn Lloyd. We're going to lean on zero. We're going to lean on Jaheim Bell. Well, not an option anymore, as you said. So you can literally guarantee we're going to see more of Juju or CBS or Rashad Amos because somebody's got to play. Somebody's got to play running back. So one of those guys will have the opportunity to take over. You know, even Juju McDowell, it doesn't really feel like he's had that game this year where he's just completely gotten on track. And as a true freshman, we saw him have games where he ended up, you know, being, in some cases, looked like one of South Carolina's best players. And that just has not happened this year. I'll be curious to see what tweaks do we see to this offense? What tweaks do we see to play calling? Do they do some different things to try and get a guy like Juju on the edge or with a pulling blocker out in front of him and do some things that maybe fit his skill set a little bit more than just saying, hey, here's the base offense. Go do what we do. But one of these guys is going to have to sort of take over as being the guy. And Carolina likes to certainly rotate at least two backs. We've seen them rotate in three as well. I'll put myself right there with the fans. I'd love to see Rashad Amos get a shot in there and just see what he can do. Now, he has to protect the football. I think that's been one thing that's I don't want to say it's rumors, but it kind of is, but it's kind of a little bit stronger than that. I think he dropped the ball on, was that his one carry?
That was his one carry.
So he's got to protect the ball. Like that's the quickest way for a running back to not get on the field is to fumble the football. So you got to think, and this is not any information. This is just the fact of the situation. You got to think that he is going to get some type of opportunity this week, and it'll be up to him to sort of build off of that.
Yeah, you would think there'd be opportunities at some point. You would hope if you're South Carolina, that means, for one, maybe you're up later in the game and you can give the guy an opportunity. But even if it's not that, I mean, we have seen South Carolina play, really 4 backs, Wes. I mean, when you talk about Jaheim Bell, when they had the full kind of healthy stable of Bell, Lloyd, CBS, and Juju, it's not like all those guys were getting a bunch of carries, right? Because some of South Carolina's offensive struggles, there weren't a lot of plays to go around just in total. But we have seen all those guys play. And so with CBS still presumably somewhat limited, right? Like, we don't know the percentage, but not completely 100%, with 2 of those guys that I just mentioned not even in the mix, you would think that there's more of an opportunity. And especially given that Juju, one of those guys, is a little bit more of, like you said, a guy that you need to put into some situations. And I think that goes back to the notion of finding ways to be creative. I feel like this is probably more of a find a way to let 7 control the game and kind of dictate the terms, pass to set up the run. I think we end up seeing more of that. Another kind of side note, Wes, to take it to Notre Dame, they've been, and I think competition level is probably a good bit of this, been a lot better against the run in the back half of the season. Look at what they did the first half. They gave up 100 yards rushing in their first 7 games of the season. They gave it 255 to Navy, 215 to Marshall, 204 to Southern Cal, 164 to BYU. Back half of the season, starting with the Stanford game, they haven't allowed a 100-yard rushing performance by a team. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind when you're looking at the matchups.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that South Carolina is loaded with national name wide receivers, but at the same time, I actually kind of like those guys' chances to go out and get open. I mean, me personally, I think Amari Brown's one of the more kind of underrated guys on this team. Like, he doesn't catch a ton of passes, but I think can make plays, can get open for you. We've seen Juice Wells emerge. We've seen Spencer Rattler just be on a completely different level the last couple of games of the season. And I think you're right, man. Drop back, throw this thing around. I'm sure that's what the guys want to do. I'm sure that's what the fans want to see. So to me, that's probably, you got 4 guys there with Juice, with Brown, with DeCarrion, with Leggett. Maybe we see Omega Blake. Maybe we see, some Landon Sampson. I mean, maybe we see some of these other guys get in there. But, Chris, I'll tell you what else I am looking forward to after we get back from Jacksonville is watching the college football playoff when we get back this weekend. And I really need somebody to hang my new TV.
Okay.
Before then. Do you have anybody I could call?
I just so happen to have a great recommendation. It is Michael and Nathan and their team at Integrated Media. They have a showroom, actually, Wes, if you did not know this, out in Chapin. So if you need some examples of the type of equipment you can get, how they can hang it for you, you can go check out their showroom in Chapin. Give them a call for more information at 803-948-8327. Visit their website at integratedmediainc.com. They can really do so many different things for you, whether it is a home theater setup so you can watch the college football playoff, smart home technology like security cameras, any audio, visual stuff, anything as simple as mounting a television. They can do that for you. They can even give you 3D renderings of your home theater system beforehand so you can kind of visualize exactly what it can look like, whether it's the equipment, the installation, kind of the consultation of how you can get there. The team at Integrated Media, they've been to my home before. They've done outstanding work for me. They can do the same for you. IntegratedMediaInc.com, 803-948-8327. We got to hit a break. 11:43 here on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. We'll be right back.
More of the Extra Point coming up next on 107.5 The Game.
The demand for your used car is at an all-time high, and it's never been worth more. Herndon Chevrolet needs your trade. We'll buy your car, even if you don't buy ours. And to prove it, we're willing to beat any written offer by $500. That's right. We'll beat any written offer by $500. Visit Herndon Chevrolet today.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
403-630-5929 for more details. If you like burritos, which you do because everyone does, you should try Taco Bell's Chipotle Ranch and Salsa Verde grilled chicken burritos. These masterpieces start with a warm flour tortilla that we stuff with grilled chicken. But the real stars here are the bold sauces, Chipotle Ranch or Salsa Verde. In fact, the chicken is the stage upon which these sauces shine. Like this mic is a stage for me to spotlight my theatrical range. 2 chicken burritos, 2 bold flavors, $2 each. Order on the Taco Bell app. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only. Contact local store for prices, hours, and participation which vary. Tax extra while supplies last.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
Hi, folks. Johnny Stivers here for the all-new Stivers Hyundai. Our 50,000 square foot facility is complete with a massive 2-story showroom, climate-controlled service drive, a quick service facility for your regular maintenance needs, and a huge, comfortable waiting room to rest or get work done while you wait. Now, through the end of the month, I've got 0% on most vehicles, and we have a huge inventory right now with more on the way. You'll never pay over sticker for one of my cars. So, Columbia, when you think Hyundai, think Stivers Hyundai on the corner of Faro and Killian Road, where price sells cars.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Wait. Tell me, where'd you get that money?
Oh, this? Oh, man. All this money came from 43money.com right online.
Are you saying you went to 43money.com and got all that money you needed fast?
Man, you know it. I went to 43money.com yesterday and bam, $5,000 was in my account today. Straight up.
Now, hold on. 43money.com helped you get $5,000 like that?
Yeah, man, that's right. 43money.com's lenders provide personal loans for up to $5,000 for people like you and me, even if you don't have good credit.
Man, I'm always short on cash. Can 43money.com help me get the money I need fast?
If you need extra money fast, go to 43money.com. Just have a checking account and a regular source of income. Go to 43money.com and you can get the loan you need now. Regardless of your credit, go to 43money.com to get the money you need fast. Type www.43money.com directly into the address bar. That's 43money.com. Again, 43money.com. 43money.com.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour.
Presented by Firehouse Subs. Founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler,
Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell.
on the home of the Gamecocks.
1075
The Game.
11:47 here on 107.5 The Game. It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Chris Clark here with Wes Mitchell. On Friday, we were at South Florence High School, Wes and I were, to take in the signing ceremony for Lenoris Sellers, 4-star quarterback, according to on3.com. And we have some audio queued up from Shane Beamer, who was able to talk about that big signing from earlier this week.
Lenoris is a guy. I mean, what can you say? He had a special senior season as a quarterback this year. He was a guy that obviously, I guess, he had some injuries his junior year. We had him. His team came over. Coach Marlowe brought his team over for our 7-on-7 camp this past summer, and we watched him in camp, and we're just blown away by some of the plays he made in camp and in competitive 7-on-7 settings. And then we told him that day, like, look, we want to watch your tape. And and at that point, we didn't have a bunch of quarterback offers out there. I think there was one that ended up going somewhere else. And then we watched Lenoris's tape each week throughout the season. And every week he was just lighting people up. And I think he's got a really big future in front of him, and great young man, and ton of respect for him. Obviously, he wanted to handle the situation with Syracuse the right way, and felt a great sense of loyalty to those guys, which I respect. And he had a hard time telling Syracuse no. And I have respect for that. He just wanted to do things the right way, but certainly circumstances changed at Syracuse with some changes on their coaching staff, and circumstances changed at our place as well. And and excited that he's going to stay in state, and appreciate Marquis Anderson and Montague and those guys recruiting the out of him at the Shrine Bowl too. From what they were telling me, they were texting me all week, during letting me know all the recruiting stuff they were doing up there too.
That was Gamecock football head coach Shane Beamer talking about 4-star in-state quarterback signee Lenoris Sellers, a big ad Friday for South Carolina's 2023 class. And Wes, a lot of interesting points there to hit on. We actually were at that 7-on-7 tournament that Shane Beamer mentioned. I remember you and I being like, man, this kid looks pretty good, and continued following him throughout. First, I want to tell you guys a little bit about Firehouse Subs, their sub of the day. Visit one of their 14 Midlands locations to get the sub of the day. That's $5.99 for a small, $7.99 for a medium every single day of the week, Sunday through Monday. Today, of course, is the turkey bacon ranch. If you don't want to try that, hit the prime rib steak sub or anything else on their menu. Order through the Firehouse Subs text line 803-404-6100 or firehousesubs.com for rapid rescue. But Wes, Lenoris Sellers, we were there for that 7-on-7. Big kid, could throw, kind of a wow factor. And then he ends up having a senior season following that, in which South Carolina said, we have got to offer this guy almost 3,000 yards passing, 1,300 yards rushing, 62 total touchdowns for Sellers.
Yeah, and by the way, get your phones ready. We're going to give away some tickets here in a second. But, Chris, Lenoris Sellers, it is very interesting to me the difference in perception of how good of a player he is between sort of the recruiting industry in general, the On3 consensus, and I've seen a lot of people get confused by this. On3 consensus, the word consensus, it is an average of the 4. But there are also On3 rankings as well, and that would be not the average of the 4. That would just be On3 alone rankings. Charles Power, a guy who I think does a phenomenal job of also keeping up with the state of South Carolina. Let's be honest, the state of South Carolina sometimes is a bit of an afterthought in the recruiting rankings, it seems like. Charles is actually from the Palmetto State, from Myrtle Beach. So he pays very close attention to this state. He is the director of the recruiting rankings on On3. He has been on the Lenoris Sellers bandwagon before anyone. I think he created the Lenoris Sellers bandwagon. He's been texting me about this guy for like a year now. And he bumped Lenoris up to a 4-star during the season. He has him as the 156, I think, overall prospect in the country, which says a lot, man. I think maybe the rest of the industry will sort of come up to that potentially, but it doesn't matter. Ask the local coaches. And it's not even his own coaches. They obviously speak very highly of him as well, as you would expect. But how many coaches of teams that have played this guy have been like, he's the dude. That's the guy.
All.
Yeah, like, I can't tell you how many people have been like, yeah, he single-handedly or almost single-handedly beat us. And it's kind of like, it's almost one of those things where they kind of shake their head and laugh, because it's kind of like, well, hat tip to that guy.
Generational talent is my favorite one that we heard from an opposing coach. Just complete respect for him.
I think, Chris, this will be one of those guys potentially that everybody looks back on, and if you didn't really pay attention, I think they'll be like, well, how did the recruiting industry miss on this guy? And it won't be one of those things where it was just, oh, yeah, this guy came out of nowhere, or this guy just developed incredibly well in college. It's going to be one of those things where you and I probably remind people, like, no, local people knew. They saw him. It's kind of like Debo, when, obviously different position, different scenarios, but with Debo, everybody that had seen Debo or played against Debo knew, hey, this guy's a stud. But you look at the offer list, the rankings for much of the process, and he just looked like your average typical recruit. But the local people knew what was up. With Lenoris, I think people know. So we will see a huge get for South Carolina. By the way, if you want to be the 5th caller right now, give us a call, 803-404-6100. We're going to give away 2 tickets to South Carolina women's basketball's SEC debut for this season on Thursday at CLA. So give us a call right now, 5th caller. We're going to give you 2 tickets, and you can go check out that game on Thursday, and then, of course, watch South Carolina football on Friday. Y'all are lighting up the lines. Some of you are calling from work, I see, but that's okay. We won't tell on you. Chris, what were your overall thoughts on the Lenoris get? I think this is one of those things where if you really paid attention, like the hardcore recruiting fans, I think we're very excited about this get.
Yep.
If you are a little bit more just, I'll see them when they get here, it maybe didn't move the needle, but I think it should move the needle.
I had someone who is close to Sellers tell me, like, because I was asking the question of why didn't more big schools offer this kid? Like, he had a nice offer list, right? But he's committed to Virginia at one time, then Syracuse, South Carolina in on him, obviously, and some others. But I was told, he's got more offers than what he said, right? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Because he's just such a quiet. We saw him, Wes, on Friday. He doesn't really like attention. He flips that switch when he gets on the field. I saw some clips from the state title game. By the way, first ever state title for his school, 15-0 season. And he was a huge, the most significant reason for that. And he kind of flips that switch. Like, he's got that competitive drive. Monster senior year. And that was after a junior season where he was limited to just 4 games because of an injury. I think if he could have played his whole junior year, he would have entered this year with a lot more buzz. But that year was shortened. But this year, over 4,200 yards of offense in total, over 60 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. The guy is big. He's strong. You watch him break tackles at the high school level. He's a crafty runner. He can make all the throws. He's accurate. He's intelligent because he's a really good student. Shrine Bowl MVP on offense and a win for the South Carolina team over North Carolina earlier this month. A couple of things that Charles Power, who you referenced earlier, pointed out, Wes, late birthday. It's like he's a younger kid for his age and also a soccer star, which, of course, I like just for personal reasons. But he is a guy where soccer was his first love. So he just kind of has this IQ and this craftiness about him in addition to his huge and significant physical tools on the field.
The soccer thing, not for the personal reasons that for you love soccer, but that speaks a lot to me, man.
It does.
Nearly a 5.0 GPA as well. Whew. Very sharp kid. From what I was told, he didn't even want to do the ceremony on Friday, but I think they were kind of like, look, man, like you're a local hero, basically. You led your team to a state title. You need to probably do something in the community to sign and announce. And some of those things are more for your community and your family than anything. But I think just if he could have had it his way, he probably would have just put something out on Twitter and just been done with it. And I think the most difficult thing for him was telling Syracuse after all that time, hey, I'm not going to be able to come there. But I think the fact they had the change at OC made it a little bit of an easier conversation to leave. But a great get for South Carolina. Shane Beamer also talked a little bit, Chris, about Vicari Swain, who he had not been able to talk about yet on Wednesday when he had his press conference, and confirmed, as expected, that he will start out at DB, but he left the door ever so cracked for some offensive opportunities as well.
As it should be. I mean, if you watch Vicari Swain's tape, you can't just be like, nah, this kid doesn't need to play any offense, right? I think there's going to end up being some infighting in a friendly way on that Gamecock football staff with what to do with Vicari Swain. Really, really interesting and intriguing playmaker.
Yeah, we will find out who wins that battle for offense or defense for Vicari Swain. Shoot, why not both? All right, y'all, that's it. We're out of time. They're giving us the look of, hey, stop talking. So we're going to do that. He is Chris. I am Wes. Appreciate all of you joining us here. We'll be back tomorrow for another GC Takeover. Y'all have a good one.
Celebrating our 15th anniversary is Columbia's Sports Talk Station.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
107.5 The Game.